The book of Colossians is a letter written by the Apostle Paul to the church in Colossae, a city in the region of Phrygia in Asia Minor. It is generally believed to have been written during Paul's imprisonment in Rome around 60 to 62 AD. The main themes of the letter include the supremacy of Christ, the dangers of false teachings, and the importance of living a Christ-centered life. The letter begins with Paul expressing his thanks and prayers for the church in Colossae. He praises them for their faith in Christ and their love for all the saints. Paul then proceeds to share his desire for the church to continue maturing in their faith and to have a deeper understanding of God and God's will for their lives. He reminds them that all wisdom and knowledge comes from Christ, and that in him they have been made complete. Paul then addresses the issue of false teachings that were creeping into the church. These false teachings were a mixture of Jewish legalism and pagan mysticism, which undermined the sufficiency and supremacy of Christ. Paul warns the believers not to be deceived and to remain rooted in Christ. He emphasizes that Christ is not only the image of the invisible God, but also the creator and sustainer of all things. He is the head of the church, and through his death and resurrection, believers have been reconciled to God. In chapters 2 and 3, Paul exhorts the believers to put off their old self and to put on the new self in Christ. He urges them to live their lives in accordance with the teachings of Christ, to be thankful, and to let the peace of Christ rule in their hearts. The letter also contains practical instructions for Christian households, emphasizing mutual submission and love between husbands and wives, parents and children, and servants and masters. Paul then shifts his focus to the value of living a Christ-centered life. He encourages the believers to set their minds on things above and to put to death any earthly and sinful desires. He also emphasizes the importance of bearing the fruit of the Spirit, such as compassion, kindness, humility, patience, forgiveness, and love. Paul reminds the believers that they are now new creations in Christ and that their identity is found in him. In the final chapter, Paul greets and sends his blessings to the church in Colossae. He also asks them to pray for him and the other believers who were with him in Rome. Paul also mentions his companions, including Tychicus, Onesimus, and Mark, who were delivering this letter to the Colossians. The book of Colossians provides valuable lessons for believers today. It teaches us about the supremacy and sufficiency of Christ and warns against false teachings that can lead us astray. It also challenges us to put off our old selves and to put on the new self in Christ, living our lives in a way that is pleasing to God. The letter also emphasizes the importance of living a Christ-centered life, being rooted in him and allowing our minds to be transformed by his teachings. Additionally, it reminds us of our new identity in Christ and the responsibilities that come with it, including bearing the fruit of the Spirit and living in harmony with one another. In conclusion, the book of Colossians is a powerful reminder of the greatness of Christ and the importance of keeping him at the center of our lives. It urges believers to stay true to the sound doctrine of the gospel and to live in a way that is worthy of our calling as followers of Christ. This letter continues to be a source of encouragement and guidance for all believers as we navigate our faith journey.